to start moving this thing, but first, yeah, I'm going to roll it up and put it up on there. But I just wanted to focus on a couple of things that have been happening and try to explain stuff. Like yesterday, I went up Mauna Loa, and the night before when I was packing, I was like, it's really tough getting everything together for the gear to get like a summit attack, you know, which is like a 10-hour day, right? So you have to be prepared for that. And I had fasted and everything the day before, and I was fasting and on a fast for probably 20 hours by the time I got up to Mauna Loa. Left here at around, I don't know, it was early, 3 o'clock maybe. Maybe 3:30, I can't remember. But that night when I was packing, I was going through old coats and stuff, and I found a bottle of Rescue Remedy. And I went like, oh my God, that takes me back to the 80s, right? When I used to take Rescue Remedies and the different Bach flower remedies and homeopathic stuff. And then I found I could generate that energy in myself once I knew its frequency, and I did stop taking them, and I found it in the pack. So I was like, oh, I haven't had this for, well, probably since the 1990s, something like that. And I hadn't had any of the Bach flower remedies that I know of. Actually, there was one time, I think, Lindy, you made something up. But anyway, I took the Rescue Remedy, and all my energy just like went, whew. And it was like such a reminder of like, in that case, I was, you know, thinking things through. I had had a little too much coffee in the fast, and so I was like really wired, and the rescue just like went bam, right? Calmed me down, and it was like, holy Moses. And as I tapped into the frequency of the Rescue Remedy behind what the events that were, you know, stabilizing in my body, it became apparent that in that coffee, you know, excitement, and I could get really excited before I go up for these long hikes. So anyway, long story short, I tapped into these frequencies behind there, and I saw the settling and how that we can settle this energies around the planet. Well, you know, I went like, oh, okay, so it is that same settling, and it's like, you know, you make coffee. Well, I make cowboy coffee, right? And I pour the hot water into the pan and let it settle. So you're like letting things settle down, and then you're skimming off the top clean product. And that's where my state had gone to, or reorganized to. And so this morning, we went up yesterday. I ended up going up just a few hundred feet, and it was so beautiful. It was so clear and so precise, and the clouds were rolling in, and we were up there before the sun came up over the clouds, which are hanging in around they were hanging in around 7,000 feet, so we were way above them at 11. And we could look down, we saw this whole thing just like processing as it went, and I sat on the rocks, and the sun just began to touch the rocks and all the different lava formations behind me, and I went like, I want to spend the day just like sitting. Well, I sat yesterday, we went to Costco, we bought a whole shitload of stuff. I did 2 slices of pizza, which is way beyond my limit, but I didn't get any asthma. And I didn't have asthma the day before, and I fasted the day before that, right? So that's a huge for me, you know. Normally before I go up on those long hikes, you know, I'm climbing 5,000 feet, 4,000 feet. Normally when I do that, I do take an inhaler, or I have been in the past, but more recently in the past months, I haven't. Well, another thing that happened with the Rescue Remedy, which I kind of like had forgotten until I'm now just about set up to do this rock rolling thing, and that's why I'm positioned here. It's got a beautiful lava face on the bottom, and I want to set it up so that when people come down here, that rock is like one of the cairns up on Mauna Loa, Mauna Kea. And my back's a little stiff because I was driving a lot yesterday, and I was sitting reading actually The Invisible Rainbow, just an amazing book. And my back was a little stiff. today, and I did some yoga, I did some forward bends and got my hands on the floor. It was really good, but it stiffened up. So what I'm going to do is use that stiffness to work into those areas and explain what's going on. So Lindy, if you can come down here right with me. Yeah, there we go. So this is hurting in here, my lower back, just in this region. And I want to stretch into it. So I'm just going to, before I lift this, is really, really heavy. Before I lift this, I'm going to just stretch those areas. Now, what I'm doing is stretching the backs of my legs because I want to be really stable and really strong and have the reserves that I don't pop anything out, which in 3 years ago could happen. Couldn't do anything like this now, back then. So here we go. So I'm using this whole thing to, see, that's the face I want to put up over there. And let's see if I can get this. Roll it this way. So actually this one isn't as heavy as some of the ones that I rolled around down there, but nonetheless it's heavy. Now my back has loosened up a lot just from being really conscious about having my balance and weight really centered, right? Like the rescue remedy. And that was easy. So now I got to figure out how I'm going to get it up on here. And this is just a piece I laid in there some time ago, which I'll take out for now. This I'm going to put down here because I'm going to use it to walk this thing up. And here it goes. That was the easy part. Now, I need to get this piece. Come around this side now, Lindy. And put in somewhere I can put this point closest. Yeah. Oh. Here goes. So what I'm doing is I'm using my knees as a lever. So I can come in here so I don't have to actually put much weight onto my back other than being firm and balanced, right? But a lot of the weight is now on both sides going into those. No, it's not going to happen. Oh, yeah. Okay, rest on this back knee. So I'm resting on my left knee. If you want to go show that, Lindy, go around the side. And there we go. So I'm resting there. I'd like to walk that hand down and get this locked in here for a moment, pushing with my right knee to hold it in there. Come around the other side again. Oxygenate. Give it time for the oxygen from the blood lung thing happening to get pumped down into the muscles. It takes about 20 seconds. And I've noticed on the high altitude climbing. Now this is going to be lucky if I can do this. Now I'm on camera. I don't want to throw anything out, right? So Lindy, I'm going to be balancing on this point over here, so you want to come over. Yeah, see that point there? Here we go. I got him locked in there. Back onto my knees. And lock on my knee again. Walk him around. Now it's break time. Big nice ride. Coming over here. Okay, let me describe what's going on. I'm dizzy. I put all of my mitochondrial intent at work to make it easier. In other words, I'd supplied a lot of oxygen into the blood by pre-breathing, right? And then, and this is what you learn during the high altitude training stuff, you know, going up on Mauna Loa, Mauna Kea. So, okay, now it's really about regulating how much breath you've got. Kind of like when you take a drink of water up there. You're going to be breathing that sort of rate through your nose, just in order to maintain it still, when you're quiet, enough oxygen in the blood. So when you drink some water, you have to swallow and catch your breath afterwards. It's kind of like that. Now, what's happened is that I have generated enough oxygen into the blood, everything is refreshed, and I'm back to do this last positioning, which could be very tricky. I'm hoping not. I hope keeping my fingers crossed, I'm hoping that I've placed this as it should be. So here we go. We want this up, we want this down, we want it there. So I have to walk it over a little bit. And if I put it on here, will this crack? Hopefully not. There we go. So I want this to end up, it's just going to go a little bit further. Oh, look how that's fitting. Can you believe it? There we go. Now we just need to stand it up. Well, as with a lot of these things, these rocks talk to you when it's time to move them. And they tell you which ones to bring along to support it. So come on over here. And come in here. I need to push this way. Okay, these two rocks have been sat by beside one another over here. See that dry patch there with the brown grass? Actually where the rat goes in through these rocks when he's alive. Sometimes he's alive. So let's see if this is the piece that's going to fit in here or not. More adjustment on the front. Look at that, man. So, oh my God. I love it, I love it, I love it. So these two rocks were sitting side by side over there. He's almost in. I'm going to put him up. Look how he's looking at the front. And right here. How does that look? Okay, we've got to swing him around a little bit, right? This way. And move this back a little bit more. That side. Bam. Now. There we go. And stand them up again. Over here. Not over there. This is where the action is. Right in here. Now, not right. There's a rock mason. He would know exactly what to do, but hey, let's have a look. Oh, maybe he does need to go right. What do you think, Lindy?
It was better before.
Okay, I'll fix that later. But like with all of this stuff, it's really about the mindset. And going up on the Mauna Loa initially many times, 12, and then on Mauna Kea, I don't know, 6, 7, 4 of them were just in June 2020. It taught me, well, in order to get there, I had to manage this mind game. Because when you're trudging for hours, you know, sometimes it's really steep. So it's like that sort of pace. You keep that breath going because it pushes a little extra pressure into the lungs and delivers just that little bit more oxygen each breath. Ashtanga yoga, they call it Ujai breathing. And you just have to keep that pace up for hours. And every time you stop for a break, you know, you don't travel very fast. You travel half a mile an hour. I'm guessing on average going up there, 5. Yeah, you maybe 2/3 of a mile. Some places maybe you're lucky and you can get a mile an hour in. I can't. You know, younger, fitter, yeah. You're looking at, you know, a completely different spectrum, but it's like you're up at 13,000 feet and it's all slow-mo up there. But it's that same breath. So starting at 9,000 feet, which actually has the steepest part but lowest elevation, I use that breath. I'm going up just gentle slopes, well, gentle, relatively speaking, and then you're going through the ice age and stuff, I'm still using that breath. 5 hours later, I'm still using that breath, and that's what gets me to the top. So it really is that mind game habit that you're trying to develop. And just like, you know, working with this stuff over here, it's the same thing. It's the mind game, getting the body into balance so that you can, you know, do stuff that you didn't know you could do. Which is why this guy sat there for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. And then, miraculously enough, this rock, which was actually sitting there right next to him, is still next to him, like a dear little brother or supporter there. And yeah, I tell you, these rocks, they talk to you. I'm out.